Hello, Teacher M over here for another homework help. But first, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our video so you'll get the other videos I'm gonna create for homework help. So our topic for today is the real number system. The way I teach my students how to classify numbers, the rational numbers, integers, the whole numbers, and counting numbers is to start with the smallest circle, which are the natural counting numbers. So I will let them create a circle or draw a circle on a whole page, one page, a clean page on their notebook, and then I'm going to ask them to write it right in the center and write inside the circle natural counting numbers. Then we're going to start by asking them, how do you count? What is the first number do you say when you're starting to count something? Then my students will say, well, I start with 1, and then we will count 2, and then 3, 4, 5, and so on. I will also ask them, do I start counting with a 0? Do we ever say, oh, I have to count the number of students, and I will start with 0, 1, 2, 3. We never do that. So naturally, we count with 1, starting with 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So I'm going to ask them to write it inside the circle that says natural counting numbers. Then I will ask them, can I call all my counting numbers whole numbers? Then they will say yes. Or, I will explain, isn't it that 1 is a whole number, the 2 is a whole number? The numbers we count with, they're all whole numbers, all the way to 100 or 500 or 1000 and beyond that. They are all whole numbers. So then I will ask them to create another circle around this, and we will write down whole numbers. So that means this circle that says natural counting numbers, which is inside the bigger circle that says whole numbers, I can call all these numbers here a whole number because it's inside that bigger circle that says so. So where do I place the 0? If it's not a counting number, where do I place it? 0 goes where it says whole numbers. Isn't it sometimes we say $0.50? Therefore, the 0 takes the place of a whole number. That's why we can go ahead and call a 0 a whole number. But we can never count with a 0. That's why the 0 is outside this circle that says counting number. It should not be included with the counting numbers because we never count with it. But the 0 is part of our whole numbers, including the counting numbers. Then I will show my students a number line where it shows the 0 right in the middle and the counting numbers to the right. So what I'm going to ask them is, what are the numbers to the left of a 0? Then they will tell me, oh, those are the negative numbers. Then I'm going to ask them, do we count with negative numbers? No, definitely not. We cannot say, I have -4 fingers or -20 students. Are negative numbers considered whole numbers? No. So where do we place them? Then I will ask them to create another circle around the whole number, okay, and place the word integers. So everything inside this circle, the bigger circle, can be called integers. So all the whole numbers are integers because they're inside that bigger circle that says so. Also, the counting numbers are integers because it's inside that bigger circle that says so. But what are the other numbers that are considered integers but are not whole numbers and are not counting numbers? Those are the negative numbers on our number line. So this is where we're going to place our negative numbers inside the circle that says integers. -1, -2, -3, -4, and so on. With the 3 little dots, it keeps on going with negative numbers infinitely. Then I will ask them, what about the other forms of numbers that we've been working with, like fractions, like decimals and percents? Where do they go here? You know that we cannot count with fractions, like I cannot count my fingers, the first one 1/2, the second one is 1 whole, the third one is 1.5. I cannot count with decimals as well, or percents, because I can turn a fraction to a decimal and percent. Where do they go then? I will then ask my students to create another bigger circle, then we will name it rational numbers. This is where all the fractions, the decimals and percents will go, such as 1/2, -1/2, 1.5, 1%, that 100s, they all go here in the rational numbers. Then to test their learning or their comprehension, I will ask them, can I call a 0 an integer? Then they will look at this drawing, and then they will see that the 0 is a whole number that is inside a bigger circle that says integers. Therefore, that 0 can also be called that integer. Okay? Can I also call my 0 a rational number? Then they will see that it's inside a bigger circle that says rational number. That means that 0 is a rational number. But the 0 cannot be called counting numbers. First of all, we don't count with 0. And it's outside that circle that says counting numbers. So I cannot call 0 a natural counting number. Only whole number, integer, and rational number. I will further ask my students some questions just to see if they really understand what's going on. So I'm going to ask, what about the counting numbers? What are the names I can call them? So they will see that the counting numbers are inside this bigger circle that says whole numbers. So if I give them 5, they will say the 5 is a counting number and it's a whole number. Can it also be called an integer? Yes, indeed, because it's still inside that bigger circle. So the 5 is a counting number, a whole number, and an integer. And can it be called a rational number? It's inside that bigger circle that says so. So a 5 and everything, all the counting numbers, they can be called counting numbers, whole numbers, integers, and rational numbers. All these numbers inside this circle are rational numbers. Okay, now we have a new Venn diagram here. I want you to copy this on your notebook and copy the given numbers above, and then test your comprehension whether you remember what you just learned in this video. Let's find out, where are we going to place that 8%? Of course, you will talk to yourself or think, I cannot count with 8%, it's not a whole number, it's not an integer, so you place it here where it says rational number. The next one is 1/2. Do we count with 1/2? No, we don't count with 1/2. It's not a whole number, it's just half. It's not an integer, it's not on your number line. So you place it here where it says rational numbers. What about a positive 15? Do we count with it? Yes, we do. So you grab it or write it inside where it says natural counting numbers. Then we move on to the next number. In the list, it's -7. You know we don't count with negative numbers. And negative numbers are not whole numbers, but they are integers. So we go ahead and grab that. Now, if you don't have the ability to grab the number, you can just go ahead and copy it and then write it inside the Venn diagram. But don't forget to cancel it on your list so you're not going to get confused which numbers are left out. Then the next number is 9/10. I know it's less than 1 whole, therefore it's a decimal. I cannot count with a decimal. It's not a whole number. It's a less than 1 whole. It's not an integer, therefore I write it where it says rational numbers, 0.9 over here. Then I'm not going to forget to cancel that on my list. Next is 0. What is a 0? Think about it. You don't count with 0, so where do we place it? Inside the circle that says whole numbers, because it's a whole number. Cancel. Then the last one on our list is 48. When we start counting with 1 all the way to 48, yes, we do count with 48. Therefore, it's a counting number that goes here inside the circle that says natural counting numbers. Now, I hope that you learned something from this video about real number system. Go ahead and do your homework, and I'll see you in class. Good luck! Bye!